the 11th of January 2025, and it's Saturday. Flo just went off at around midday to do some yoga in X. She'll be back tomorrow. And me, I am in two minds about everything today. I was playing chess from midday till about 2, just lying on the couch listening to Late Date that I taped. But I couldn't decide whether I wanted to go and walk into Horizon, the usual stuff. Because I fancy having mince, carrots, potatoes for dinner, and I'm going to have to pick those up, and also I need some stuff for Tuco. But in the end I decided I don't want to walk in, so I'm walking Tuco instead, which is it's a lot smaller a walk, but it'll work, if not as much as the long walk. And I was on the couch being a bit depressed, I suppose. That's not uncommon. But sometimes I think you kind of think in the long term, and you think, what is there in store, let's say, for the year? And don't stop there, Tuco. Ale, make the effort to bring you for a walk. It's kind of hard to explain this. It's what's in store. I think at the moment my highlights are watching Voyager, getting very comfortable in bed with a hot water bottle, playing chess and eating tic-tacs, listening to tapes, recording tapes, uploading little videos about tapes, which I have to say I love doing. I don't know what it is. I just love recording little clips of me playing something on one of the machines and uploading it. There's a bizarre aesthetic nicety to that, and even watching them back. But thinking in the long term, then I think, so what becomes of me in 4 or 5 years? I guess I could say it's kind of like, and I'm sure a lot of people have this same, perhaps slightly unconscious thing, where it's like you're waiting for the happiness and the wonderful something to happen. Now, I'm not saying for a second that I'm not happy. I'm not saying for a second that when I wake up in the morning I'm in a far better place mentally in every other which way than I was even a decade ago. I am. We're struggling a bit with me finding a job and all that I don't need to mention, because I'd say I've spoke about it all together on all these audio things for hours and hours. But putting that aside, how can I say it? I don't want to sound ungrateful, and I don't want to, because things are generally good with me and I can't complain. That's the thing. But is this all there is? I hate saying that, because you feel like you're tempting fate a little bit, and you don't want to look back, listen to this in the future and think, wow, I said, is this all there is? I didn't realize how lucky I was. I'm walking my dog, I'm perfectly healthy, I'm relatively young, and I've got so much potentials to do so many things, but I can't think of anything to do. But let's say, because of the way I feel now, that sentence of is it all there is, that I this way, Tuco, we can't go that way, that's where the horses are. do I get up in the morning, look for work, and then, well, you know, I'm talking to myself, I know, for a number of years now, there is, on the one hand, it's great that there isn't really any boredom anymore, because the time goes quick and the evenings come very quickly. And well, before I know it, like I was thinking to myself earlier, I'm sitting down, I'm going to be eating my dinner, I'm going to be watching Voyager, it's going to be dark outside, and then maybe I'll find some little aesthetic business with one of my tape recorders, or I'll record something on an audio device and whatever, or I'll dig out some little device I haven't used for a while, and anyway, it'll be bedtime, and then I'll play chess for a while, I'll scroll through videos, I'll sleep. It all happens incredibly quick, so there isn't really time to get that depressed about things, because the next day comes. And I'm very aware also of the little packets of time that we have, where we go from being one person to another. I kept skipping songs as an example of what I'm talking about here. I was listening to the radio yesterday, late date, but my mind was on the unemployment business, and I was looking to see if I could get anywhere with looking for remote working and stuff, and I was listening to the late date, and on a couple of occasions the song started and I forwarded because I didn't like the sound of the song. And I was listening to that tape this morning when I was playing chess at midday, and with lots of these songs that came along, there's about 3 of them, I liked the sound of them, and I was thinking, oh, it's a shame I skipped over that sounded like an interesting song. So it's like we're different people at different times with different likes, and I know that any feeling I have now about the long term, or about this, is this it, and they are very, very fluidic. They're there because of various reasons, maybe biological, a lack of some type of food. When I have my dinner tonight, I may feel totally different, and this kind of this thought plane will have gone for the time being. I'll let you go. Don't be stopping. This is the last walk you have before night time. This thought of looking into the future, I was listening to a tape the other day, and it was 4 years ago, and I thought that's pretty much the same as now, and there's nothing wrong with now, and that's why I'm having great difficulty with this type of conversation, because I feel guilty saying things, and yet on another level I have to be honest and say them, because they are things that are on my mind, you know. Like 4 years ago, I'm walking my dog, and the day I won't be walking my dog, I'm sure I'll be quite sad, because I think I really enjoyed walking the dog. I really love my time with Tuco. But I guess I shouldn't be too scared, that's the word, of just bringing up the subject of, because it's an existentialistic kind of thing. It's what the writers struggled with, I guess, down through the ages, from the Greeks to the Romans, to the Germans and the French and our Irish people. Is this it for the next 10 or however many, 20, 30 years? Who knows? Just these little routines, you know. You get up, you have your coffee or your tea, you maybe go to work. I hope that happens. I hope I have another shot. I never thought of it. This is the first time I've had this thought. I hope it's not the end of my working career. I hope I have another shot of a few years doing something different. That's a very positive way to look at it. Another positive way was to think, I really want to have money coming into my account. I want Flo to feel relieved. I want to be independent. So that's good. But there's also, that's a new thing I've just thought of now. I don't want it to be the end of my working life. I want there to be another chapter in that, you know. It's the same feeling in this, looking at the CVs and the work history. I'll be 60 next year, so that whole part of my life it will come to an end at some point. There won't be any more jobs. They'll never be looking at another CV and, oh my God, right now that sounds like a good thing, honestly. That sounds like a good thing, never having to do these things. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind having another chapter in that. I wouldn't mind having Connemara finished 2024 and then February, March, new job started. 2025, I begin doing this. I haven't handled the question well, what I started off talking about during this walk. Tuco, shall we go down this way? We're on the riverbed. I don't want to go to where the cows are by the pylon, but maybe we could go down to just the little crossing before that where you can... Tuco! What's he doing? He's not eating some crap or something, is he? You have to be careful he doesn't find something stupid and start eating it. Oh God, I've just walked in a lot of muck. Alright Tuco, let's not bother. Let's go back. Yeah, the question of... is this it? Do all kind of men get to a point where they don't get very excited about going on holidays or anything anymore? Christmas has kind of drift by, and the weeks fly by. I guess when retirement comes, it must really be like that. And then what? You just try and take care of yourself as much as possible, and hope that things don't go too wrong. And if they do, you kind of hope it's that's a depressing frame of mind, but you hope it's like a short illness and it's not too unpleasant, and you slip away quietly and peacefully. They're valid thoughts. I mean, it's a valid subject. It's not one that and I see myself as being kind of into this area and not really afraid to talk about the passing of time, but even I don't like talking about that. Tuco, allez, just seems to have gone on far ahead of me. I'm bringing him back. Allez, go in this direction. Everything is pretty good and calm, you know. I'm learning how to deal with things that I wasn't able to deal with before. Me and Flo have our moments, especially when it comes to the work search, but I'm trying to find ways to deal with it. That doesn't mean that come next week there won't be some moment when I just lose my head, because I'm gonna feel, if I could explain that to her actually, that I get stressed and annoyed with the conversation she has with me. It's more getting stressed and annoyed at myself. and feeling that I'm kind of in a corner. Anyway, that's another subject. It's quite nice to have the evening for myself. I don't feel that depressed or dejected. I don't want very much. I'm just, at the moment, it's like I just want my dinner, to watch Voyager and go to bed. But I guess a part of me, and if Flo would hear that sentence, she'd be a little bit concerned, and she'd be saying, that's because you've got no spiritual side, or that's because you don't make any effort to get out of your bubble to increase your life. But I don't know how to. There's too much of a dislike and a resistance to things that people would suggest as an antidote to such a small evening. Go out and get involved in a group. And I take no pleasure getting involved in groups. How do you know you've never been in a group? Well, I have. I can hear people in front of me. I hope there's no dogs here. Just people, I think. Yeah. Fuck, they came out of nowhere. Tuco! Ah, you're pooing. Ale, let's see what he bark. It's not a surprise, Tuco. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Tu vas content?
Voilà. Yeah, you see, a part of me, a large part, hasn't any problems with the day being like this. And if I'm in a stressed situation, let's say me and Flo have had to go somewhere to meet someone and it's tricky finding the place, then I find myself wishing that I was at home having my dinner watching Star Trek. I'm not sure it's that unusual. It'd be interesting if you were able to do a survey of all the men aged 59 in the world. If you could do an instant survey and get the results, perhaps it would turn out that the vast majority of men are exactly the same. They want nothing more than that. People a bit younger want nothing more than sitting down and playing a PlayStation game. Just being in a kind of warm place where you're entertained in some way, doing something you like. Which reminds me, I've been thinking a lot about Anno lately. But it turns out I must have deleted it from my Acer laptop because it doesn't seem to be there. And I'm thinking, holy Christ, if I have to download that in our place here, it's going to take hours and hours. I got to think about that for now. And it's okay in the Connemara, you had a fantastic connection. It'd be odd to go back to the Connemara when it's this Tapas Park simply because I want to download something on my laptop. That'd be taking the piss a bit, maybe. So life is like that. And there's nothing wrong with taking it day by day. That's kind of the religion that we follow. But you take it day by day, and sometimes, someday, you kind of lift your head up and you look a little further in the distance and you think, am I happy with this status quo? And of course, like I said earlier, if anything happened health-wise, you of course would be happy with it. I will always remember the day coming home from the hospital in Toulon when I cut my arm into bits because of that terrible drunk session in Marival. Driving from Manosque to here, going through that bendy road, I was so relieved, and so it was one of those moments of being filled with joy for being given a chance. And I could have cried coming back to just the familiarity of the place, because we'd been in Marival for about a week, and then I was only in the hospital for 2 days. But God, the whole incident, it felt like it was like I just felt like I was away for a month. And getting back to the cats, it was a kind of overwhelming. And it was that moment I kind of realized, wow, I really like my life, my routine here. And I'm sure it's the same now. It's just when you get a bit depressed, or your mind starts to wander, or you start to question things, I think it's all healthy. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think you should never ever deal with a question like that, or it's not even a question, it's a kind of a vague thought pattern. The future, this is 10 years. I stopped drinking 10 years ago. The Connemara, we were there 10 years ago. In 10 years, the next 10 years should be quicker. 69. I can't help but think there is a certain relief, which is such a strange thing. I may come to find that strange in the future, if I'm in the future. The notion that I found it, it's obvious why. It just would, if I get to a point where there's retirement and there's just no more work, because it's ridiculous to even look at that point. When you're that old, nobody's going to hire you, and you have a pension. And I've always struggled with the work thing, and even now it's very hard. I try to spin it into where it's an adventure, and like I already said, I hope I have some more work. I hope there's another chapter to that. But at the same time, it's maybe the last big kind of depressing area, which obviously is overtaken immediately by any health issues. But when there's no health issues, that is kind of the default problem area. No money, no job, no money. Slow losing your patience more and more. And then this talk of, you'll have to ask Martina this and that. Maybe you go back to Ireland and get a job. It gets kind of brutal when it gets to that point, and I have to say Flo gets fucking brutal at that point as well, and there isn't really any way to justify her treating me like that for all the years we've been together. She would kind of argue it a different way. She'd say, oh, it's not her problem, it's my fault, it's I'll but it's hard I've tried to tell her how much of a kind of destabilizing thing it is to be telling me at my age that I should be contemplating going back home to my 84-year-old mother. It's just, I think if it comes up again, I'm going to have to just stamp out that thing and tell Flo, I will rather die in a ditch somewhere in France than go home. That straight away reminds me of the story in the Bible. I hope I don't end up like that. He has a terrible time and eventually he goes back to his family. I can't remember, it's a big story. The prodigal son, isn't he? Yeah. Things get so fucking bad that in the end he goes back and says, I don't deserve to be called your son anymore, just hire me as one of the servants and I'll be happy to do that. And of course there's a big party for him and he was lost and found and everybody was like, I don't think I'd have the same welcome in Carlo. I had that conversation with my mother all those years ago. It's not one I'll ever forget. There isn't really any opening arms there. It's understandable. They don't really want me back. That's why it's such a terrible discussion to have and one I don't want to have anymore than what I'm talking about here. Just talking about it is pissing me off. So, that was 26 minutes, Tuco, huh? Let's go and check the mail. I have to do some shopping. I got some air in my lungs. Not a very pleasant topic I was talking about. It was a little more tranquil, the long-term thing. The end piece is a little disturbing. This way, Tuco. But I did walk, I did talk, I breathed in the oxygen. Those things should have an effect. I'm going to check the mail, so I'm going to switch off now. Yeah, I'm going to switch off. Adios. It's 12:10. So, it is the, what's the date? The date, the 12th. It's the 12th of February. Oh, the battery in this thing is almost gone. Look at that. I'm just looking at the screen. The battery looks to be almost empty. So I'll keep this short. There's no internet on my phone. I'm just going to play chess and I can't. My God, when the internet goes, it's like, what do I do now? So yeah, I am just gonna go to bed. I mean, go to sleep. I got up this morning at 7:30 because I had to walk Tuco and then we had to leave at 8:30 because I had to get to the boulangerie. I thought to pick up my check, but no. I had to fill out some forms and then go back and pick up my check at the end of the month. Anyway, this is a very short entry because I'm about to sleep. Bye. Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. It's Monday the 13th of January. And just applied for 3 jobs online with the help of Flo. And this morning, this afternoon, I drove McManly to Cadarash, 12:30. And what else? Yesterday I cleaned my ears. How about that? With the drops and the water and everything. Ooh, and this morning, yeah, this is one of the good ones this morning. I managed to take a sample of my poo. Excellent stuff. I had to crap into kind of a piece of paper that you put over the toilet seat. Lovely. Take a sample and a little thing, and I've done that and sent it off. Oh God, it's smoky. And so yeah, that's the day. Now I'm walking Tuco because frankly, any excuse to get out of job hunting is taken. Last night, this is what I wanted to talk about on this file number 4. I was going through, because I wanted to read back my old notebooks. And there is the red notebook, not the childhood one, but the red one that begins, I think it's September 89. And it begins with my, very early on in our stay at Argyle Road, me and Claudia, and John Byrne and Kieran Egan. And it's very early on in that period, because I mention in the notebook that it's the first time I'm on my own in the house. And it also mentions Claudia's birthday, which must have been sometime the end of September. How old would she have been in 89? God bless her, she was probably in her early 20s. And this notebook goes through pretty quickly, to be honest. There's not lots in it. It goes all the way up to 92. And me coming back from what am I hearing? Oh, it's a little dog. Let me pause for a second here. How do I do that? Do I press? Right. I just passed a man with a little black dog. The little black dog was he was about half the size of Tuco, but he was having a go, barking. What I was saying, it's a very interesting 3 years, 89 up to 92. And I think it was perhaps 93. I'm a little mixed up on the dates, because I started Drama Centre 91 September. I think you always start these things in September. So 91 to 92 and 92 to 93. But I would have been out probably halfway through 93. And then I went home. And I came back in something like September 93. And that's what was troubling to me. Because I arrived back and I wrote down that I was very, very depressed coming back in September 93 to Kern Road. That's where I was staying for a little while. Claudia was away. I'm not 100% sure of the dates, but I think the reason I didn't stay in Ireland, which looking back seems, it's like you're reading about a different person and you're kind of shouting at the words. You're saying, why the fuck don't you stay in Ireland? Why would you come back for? You've got nothing to come back to. But of course, I think I'm forgetting that I don't think I wanted people to know that I was finished with the drama stuff. Even though my mother must have known, because I didn't ask, she didn't have to pay anything else for the third year. So unless she just assumed that the third year was kind of free or something, which would have been a bit silly. So I assumed maybe she knew. But I must have been telling everybody, yeah, I'm going back to London, I got the drama school, and then I'm going to work there, blah, blah. But in actual fact, I hadn't really anything to go back to. And this was just before the moving into Sutherland Avenue, and that 1 or 2 maybe years of total isolation. So it is strange reading this, and you just can't help but think, why is this guy here? Why doesn't he go back? He's in his early 20s, well, he's in his late 20s, let's say 27 or something. He's 27. He's so young, you know. I had plenty of time to go back to Ireland. I wasn't with Claudia, I was on my own. I could have signed on a tome. I could have surely manage to get some job in Ireland, go back to college in Ireland. I'm only in my 20s. It annoys me to think of making such a terrible decision. And I'm thinking now, if the thought had struck me at some point back then, I don't know why it didn't, but it would have been a very relieving kind of thought to say, shit, I don't have to be here, I can go back. I'll let you go. Let's see if we can go down the river bed like this and get back. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is that the Equestrians Theatre was also a bit nerve-wracking. And then the Drama Centre was just... no words need to be spoken by me to myself about that fucking period. But what I was thinking was it all took place in 3 short, miserable fucking years. The Questers, the Drama Centre, me splitting with Claudia, finishing in Argyle Road, spending some time with Claudia when she was living beside the church, and then spending some time in Kern Road, and then spending some time in with that fucking horrible Colin thing, the guy who he locked me out at the very start of my tenancy. And then the period in Sutherland Avenue. It all took place in probably a little over 3 short years. And I thought it's amazing how those 3 short years have stayed with me ever since. You know, the 10 years before, I don't think about it all the time. And if I think about my early time in London and working in a china shop, and it's not a scarring kind of thought, as is the 10 years after Sutherland Avenue. I can think of all these times, and they're not troubling, you know. But those 3 years, if only I could have known that those 3 years were going to just stick with me so much. You know, I think for the rest of my life, if I live to be 100, I still don't think there'll be a week that goes by when I don't at some point think back on that period. Makes you wish you could go back and change it. And it makes you think, God, how simple it is to make a wrong decision, or a couple of them, and how they are going to change your life, literally. Change my life. I left drama school and drama centre. I didn't leave. I got kicked out. And then I made some more stupid choices, and then I didn't get a job, and I was living on my own, and I was just getting the basic benefits. And I was going nowhere. I mean, of course, it's a wonderfully complex thing, and if the Star Trek people were with me, they'd say, well, if you changed everything, and if you'd stayed home that time, if you hadn't come back in that September '93, and you'd said, feck it, I'm gonna just say I'm finished with the drama, and I'm gonna either come clean, or I'm gonna not mention it again, and I'm gonna just tell my mother I'm not going back. If that happened and I'd stayed in Carlow, things would certainly have been different. It's quite possible I would have went with the girl at some point. Although, who knows? My God, I was in Carlow for the odd year or two, and I didn't meet a single person. I could not meet anybody. I always say, well, eventually you would have met someone and you would have got, maybe had kids. But there's no, I mean, look at Kieran Egan. That's a stupid thing to say, Kieran Egan has kids, but Kieran was with one girl. I don't think he met anybody else. Look at my brother. So again, he was with like one girl, had a brief fling with the mother of his daughter, but that's it. So there's no guarantee that I would have fared any better. But I may not have been here around. I may not have come back for the video place. I wouldn't have met Flo then, and I wouldn't be here. It's the way these things work. And I'm very glad I'm here. So maybe if I didn't go through that shit 3 years, I wouldn't have ended up in this beautiful setting with the sun low but brilliantly bright in the sky on my left side here, with the clearest blue skies you could imagine, beautiful undulating hills all around, and a very tranquil life, and living with a wonderful person in the form of Flo. Very, very intelligent Flo is, and very loving behind all the I don't know, the agitated times we have together, and the problems she has with me and the problems I have with her when we have those differences. But compared to so many people, women, she is and she has been and continues to be a great help to me. So who knows, maybe I had to go through the shit to get here. Maybe if it was the other way around, maybe I would have had a great time all through the 90s, and then maybe I'd be in Ireland now and things would be disintegrating all around me, and I'd be thinking back to the good old days, but I'd be on a steady kind of decline now. Whereas I don't feel like that here at all. I feel quite content. But just to say again, it is strange that 3 short years could have such an effect. And the other thing to say is, reading back, it's the person that was me, but I'm not that person anymore, and sometimes it's hard to understand why he was so stressed about things. It's also quite clear to me that as much as I would probably not agree with this even now, parts of me wouldn't, that the whole acting thing was simply not for me. You know, you're reading about something you want to do, but then every other line is I'm so anxious because I have to do this, I have to do this acting class, I have to do this movement class. It's like I'm doing something and I absolutely hate doing it, but I've convinced myself that it's for me. Such a strange state of affairs. On the other hand, I think now, if I had somehow the faculty I have now, and I was back in those days, and I would just think, oh, I'm in an institution which is trying to teach, help me some way in acting. And okay, it's the wrong type of acting. It's theatre, it's stage. It's lots of stuff that I don't particularly like doing. That was the mistake. It could have never been, you know, I really, even if I were the faculty I have now, I would not, no way, no how, want to go back to that fucking school again. To go. Wait. Wait there, because that man in front is walking very slow. I think his dog is quite old. Stop. So I'm going to attach you, and then we're going to walk slow, yeah? Just in case you decide to run off to pick on the little fella. Huh? There you go. Yeah, even if I had the chance to go back to that school tomorrow, I would not go anywhere near it. It would be a different story if someone said, you want to go to an amateur English-speaking theatre company somewhere, and we'll, yeah, that would be different. If it was just simply to act and to do some kind of a, well, preferably film work, but if it was a stage thing even, it would be different now than it was then. But anyway, it's just amazing to see how I put up with the situations, because I never thought there was any choice. Something strange about me. It's the same for that job I did in Coral I think I did it for 6 months, and it literally made me sick. I don't know why. I mean, I was with Flo at the time. I could have signed on. I wasn't in a situation where I didn't have a choice, that I couldn't have gone, I can't do this job anymore. It's kind of terrifying. But I did the same with the drama stuff. God, did it never occur to me in the middle of that to just walk and say, fuck this, I've got to be something better. It didn't. I guess the notion of being a famous actor, of making it that way, and of at that point you'd passed the audition, you'd been told at some point that you were a good actor, and so you were hooked into believing that your destiny lay somewhere in greatness, and so you just went along and along and along. Anyway, I'm going to sign off because Rosanna and his daddy Patrice are coming.